Some places whisper. Colorado remembers. Not the stories in the guidebooks, but the ones buried in static, carved into stone, and sealed behind doors that never open twice. These aren't legends, they're real, and they were never meant to be found again. Lock your doors, put on your headphones, and pull the blanket up tight, because after this video you'll never see Colorado the same way again. The San Luis Valley Stalker. When the mountains had eyes, some things watch from the trees, others from the sky. But in the San Luis Valley they watched from everywhere, and sometimes from just outside your window. The San Luis Valley is one of the most remote regions in Colorado, a high-altitude desert flanked by the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, steeped in centuries of unexplained sightings, lights in the sky, mutilated cattle, shadows that hover without sound. But between 1986 and 1997, something different emerged. Not a UFO, not a ghost, but a presence, too silent to be human, too physical to be forgotten. It began with a door. In October of 1986, a rancher named Walt Jeffries reported something unusual. Not footprints, not lights, just his front door wide open at dawn. He was sure he'd locked it. So were the deputies. No broken hinges, no damage. Just a handle cold to the touch, on the inside. 2 weeks later it happened again, and this time something was missing. A single boot from his porch, and one chicken. No blood, no feathers. Walt chained the door and bought a shotgun. The next time, the door stayed shut, but the chain was unlatched. Soon other stories followed. A mother in Manassas, Colorado, woke up to her baby crying, but the monitor was dead. She walked in. The window was cracked open. She lived alone, no prints, no wind. She moved 2 days later. A teenage girl in Center, CO, found a handprint on the outside of her second-floor window. A teacher in Del Norte heard something breathing under his porch. A gas station clerk swore she saw a face in the security glass, but when she turned, there was no one there. What linked them? Silence, timing, and eyes that didn't blink. By the early 90s, the sheriff's department had over 20 reports of trespassing from scattered towns across the valley. Always the same. No entry, no damage, nothing stolen, but a lingering sense of being watched. One woman described it best. It wasn't like someone had been in my house. It was like they never left. In 1992, a couple in the town of Hooper reported something that pushed the mystery deeper. They had just installed motion lights. One night, the sensor tripped. They looked out and saw nothing, but the light stayed on. The next morning, they reviewed the tape. At 2:11 a.m., the feed glitched for 4 seconds. When it resumed, their porch chair was missing. No footsteps, no shadow, just a flicker, and then absence. They found the chair 40 feet away, in the middle of a field, upright and facing their house. The case grew darker in 1994. A camper went missing near Zapata Falls. His gear was untouched. His car locked, but his tent zipper was open, and inside his boots were lined up neatly like someone had removed them while he slept. Search dogs tracked a scent 300 yards, then stopped. Nothing after that. No sign, no trail, just gone. Locals began calling it the Stalker. Not a person, not an animal, just something that moved when no one looked, that watched without sound, and left nothing but doubt behind. In 1997, it stopped. No more reports, no more calls, just silence. But silence doesn't always mean absence. In 2016, a family from out of state moved into a ranch house 6 miles north of Alamosa. Within 2 weeks, they installed new locks after their son found their dog kennel open and the dog sitting outside, unharmed, staring at the tree line. That same night, the father said he woke up at 3:06 a.m. to the sound of knocking, 3 slow knocks, from the inside of the closet door. He opened it, empty, but the air was cold, and the light bulb flickered, then burst. Today you can visit San Luis Valley. It's open, vast, beautiful, but if you do, don't sleep near an unshaded window. Don't leave your boots out overnight, and whatever you hear knocking, don't answer it, because some things in the mountains are still waiting for someone to come back. And if you're quiet enough, you'll feel it looking back at you. But far from the valley, in a lodge the map forgot, Someone left behind a recording, one that was never supposed to be watched, twice. The Twin Lakes Lodge tape. Some things were never meant to be seen. Others only become real when you hit rewind. Twin Lakes sits in the high Rockies of central Colorado, a stretch of alpine stillness, silent water, and old seasonal cabins, most of them forgotten, sealed for decades by snow, storms, or stories no one finished telling. But on the edge of the lake, buried in the tree line behind a gravel road, locals call the curve that disappears, stood an abandoned building with no sign, no record, and no reason to still be standing. The locals just called it the Lodge. It didn't have guests, just one locked room and one tape. In 2003, an urban explorer named Darren Blake entered the structure after hearing rumors from a snowplow worker in Leadville. Go past the frozen rowboat. You'll find a door with no knob. If you can get in, bring a flashlight and don't touch the shelf. Inside, rotten furniture, a broken stove, and upstairs, a narrow hallway that led to a padlocked room. He broke the lock and found nothing but a shelf, a dusty VHS tape, and a single line scratched into the wall. Play it once, then leave it. The tape wasn't labeled, just black plastic and warped edges. He took it, brought it back to Denver, and played it at a local university film lab. Here's what it showed. Static, then snowfall, silent, steady. A fixed camera angle looking out through a cracked window. Snow blowing sideways. Timestamp January 17th, 1997. 7 minutes long, no cuts. At the 4-minute mark, something moves behind the glass. Not fast, not clear, just a shape. Tall, without edges, moving against the wind. At 6:42, a voice, not from the screen, but the tape itself, whispers, "Don't rewind, it remembers." Then black. 2 days later, Darren played it again. This time the audio track cracked, and in the final 5 seconds, a new image appeared. The window, but from the outside, and someone was looking in. Only Darren had touched the tape. The university stored the cassette in archives, but when they tried to digitize it, the file failed 6 times on 7 different machines. Finally, in 2005, they played it in front of a live class. That's when it escalated. 4 students said they saw different details, not just from each other, but from what the screen was showing. One said the shape outside waved. Another said there was a second voice under the first one. "We're watching too." That night, 2 hard drives failed. One student developed temporary hearing loss, only in the right ear, and the professor who signed off on the screening left the university, moved out of Colorado, never spoke publicly again. In 2010, the tape went missing. No signs of theft. The archive shelf still labeled, but empty. Today, if you go to Twin Lakes, you'll find no sign of a lodge, only trees, and if you look just right through the pines near the frozen bend, you might see a shape in the glass, even if there's no building. Locals say there was never a lodge there, but some of them, especially those old enough to remember the snowstorm of '97, avoid that side of the lake, especially in January, especially at dusk, because whether the tape was cursed, broken, or never real in the first place, it still knew when you watched it. And worse, it knew when you watched it again. Some stories you hear once, some images you can't forget, but there are places in Colorado where memories aren't just recorded, they record you back. And far from the lake, at a hotel still open to guests, there's a door that no one talks about, and a room that still answers when someone whispers goodnight. The hidden room of Hotel Colorado. She's still getting ready. Some hotel rooms stay empty. Others just wait for the right guest. The Hotel Colorado in Glenwood Springs opened in 1893. Presidents stayed here, famous criminals, soldiers returning from war, and some never left. The building is grand, historic stonework, fire-lit lobbies, and balconies that overlook the cold, quiet streets of the mountain town. But there's one hallway on the 3rd floor where the wallpaper doesn't match, where the sound of water running never leads to a faucet, and where a single unmarked door refuses to stay silent. Between rooms 310 and 312, there is a door with no number. No peephole, no lock, just a brass knob and a narrow seam in the wall that looks like it shouldn't be there at all. It isn't on the guest map. There's no key for it at the front desk. And the maintenance staff don't speak about it, but guests hear it. A woman humming, a chair scraping the floor, the unmistakable snap of a light turning on. In 2004, a couple staying in room 312 reported that they were kept awake by a sound coming from the wall, brushing, as if someone were combing their hair, over and over, even after the electricity cut during a windstorm. The next morning, the wife said she saw her reflection in the bathroom mirror, but for a second it had longer hair, and it was smiling. She refused to return to the hotel. The room wasn't always hidden. Archives from the Glenwood Springs Historical Society show that in the 1930s, that space was listed as room 311, reserved for a traveling performer named Evelyn Vale, a stage actress known for her red velvet dresses, long black hair, and habit of getting ready hours before the show. She vanished in 1937. No note, no trace. Her clothes were still hung in the closet, a single brush on the vanity. The hotel sealed the room 3 weeks later. A handwritten maintenance log reads, "Mirror cracked inside, sounds continue at night. Removed bulb. Light still came on." In 1991, a night auditor said he saw the hallway lights flicker at 3:14 a.m. Security footage showed a shadow pass across the carpet, but only on the camera. The motion sensors didn't trigger. He later received a voicemail on the front desk phone. A woman whispering, "I'm not ready yet. Come back later." No guest had access to that line. Today, the door is still there, unlabeled, silent by day. But if you stay at the hotel, especially in room 312, you might hear the hairbrush again. Hotel staff will tell you it's just pipes, but one former housekeeper kept a diary during her years there. In one entry, dated 2007, she wrote, "The hallway was empty, but I heard someone walking in heels, the kind they don't make anymore." She quit the following week. Visitors leave. Rooms get repainted, but some reflections don't fade. And if you ever find yourself in the third-floor hallway of the Hotel Colorado and hear someone behind the wall, don't knock, because Evelyn isn't gone. She's still getting ready, and she's been waiting a long, long time for the curtain to rise. Some mysteries knock, some wait in silence, but west of Glenwood Springs, a hill lit up once, just once, and for 11 seconds, everything stopped but the sky. The red hill flash. Everything froze but the sky. Some places go dark when things appear. Others light up like they were never meant to be seen. Red Hill is a rust-colored slope outside Carbondale, Colorado, a popular hiking spot with winding switchbacks and a panoramic view of Mount Sopris. But on the night of August 3, 1979, something happened on that hill that no one's ever been able to explain, because for exactly 11 seconds, time on the ground seemed to stop, but the sky didn't. It was just past 9 p.m. A local science teacher named Charles Newell had taken his dog for a walk up Red Hill Trail. The air was dry, clear, no wind. He reached the mid-slope outlook when his dog stopped walking, ears up, frozen. Then it began. A flash, not lightning, white but tinted red, like sunlight through blood. It didn't flicker, it didn't blind, it just stayed. Charles described it like this. It wasn't light shining on the hill, it was like the hill was glowing from inside. Everything around him turned still. His watch stopped. The dog didn't move, no wind, no sound, but above him, the clouds kept drifting, the stars kept shifting, the sky moved, he didn't. Exactly 11 seconds later, darkness, total. Then crickets, wind, motion again. Charles stumbled home. He was bleeding from one nostril. His watch had restarted, exactly 11 seconds late. He reported it the next morning. Locals dismissed it until the phone calls started. 6 other residents from different elevations around Red Hill called into the sheriff's office that night. Each described the same thing. The sky turned white, but the streetlights didn't cast a shadow. My wall clock stopped for 10, maybe 12 seconds. The power didn't go out, but the lights bent, like something passed through them. None of them knew each other, and none had been on the hill. In 1980, a visiting electrical engineer from Boulder set up a test rig near the same slope. Just simple instruments, magnetometers, infrared cameras, and analog clocks. After 4 nights of silence, he recorded a sudden temperature drop at 2:44 a.m. The magnetometer spiked. The camera lens fogged, but the audio recorder captured something else. A voice, one word, barely audible, below. No one was with him at the time. He left the rig for one more night. When he returned, the tapes were missing, the batteries drained, and one of his field notes was torn down the center. The only thing left intact was a sticky note taped to his car. Red isn't just the soil. Locals today avoid Red Hill at night. They say electronics don't behave normally near the mid-slope overlook. One teenager reported that his camera shutter opened by itself, and when he developed the photo, it showed stars on the ground, not the sky. Another hiker claimed the trail felt longer on the way down than on the way up, and one man, an out-of-state visitor, sat near the summit alone just after sunset. His phone recorded a short voice memo by accident. When he played it back, he heard himself whisper, "I'm not facing the right way." He never remembered saying it. The Red Hill flash has no official explanation. No satellites recorded anything unusual, no seismic activity, no solar flare, just silence. But those 11 seconds haven't stopped, because everyone who saw it felt something stay behind. And on that slope with the dirt glowing red at dusk, you can still feel the hill waiting. For what, no one knows. Only that when it comes again, the sky won't be the only thing still moving. Some lights reveal, some replace, and just a few miles from the hill, a mining town buried by snow holds a secret beneath the hotel floorboards. One room, no lock, and a voice that still tries to check out. The man in room 6, stuck between floors. Some guests never leave, others never arrive, but room 6 at the Miners' Rest Hotel, it's been occupied since 1959, even though no one's ever seen the key. The town of St. Elmo, Colorado, is often called a ghost town, but that's only half true. Tucked into the Sawatch Range, it still draws tourists every year with its preserved storefronts, creaking floorboards, and one hotel that never fully shut its doors, the Miners' Rest. It stopped taking reservations in 1974, but the locals say one room was never cleaned out, and if you ask at the general store across the street, they'll tell you exactly which one, room 6. No one talks about what's inside, only what people hear, and once, what someone saw. In January 2001, a snowplow driver named Raul Torres took shelter inside the old hotel during a surprise storm. He'd grown up nearby, knew the building was mostly hollowed out, but when the wind kicked in and the temperature dropped, he decided to ride out the storm in the lobby. Just one night. He made a small fire in the old hearth, laid his gear on the floor, and around 2:30 a.m., he heard footsteps upstairs. One floor, one room, room 6. He went up. The hallway was silent, dust thick on the boards, but the door to room 6 was cracked open. Inside, an old desk, one chair, no bed, just a bare bulb hanging from the ceiling, glowing faintly. Even though there was no electricity in the hotel, Raul stepped in, the bulb flickered, and for a split second, he saw someone standing in the corner, a man, facing the wall, not moving, not breathing. He blinked, the bulb popped, and the room was empty. Raul slept outside the rest of the night, never went back, but the next spring he spoke with the town's former maintenance man, an elderly volunteer named Jack Mallory. Jack just nodded. Room 6 was the one they never opened again. The floor's wrong there. You hear things under it. He wasn't wrong. In 1962, a couple on honeymoon stayed at the hotel, one of the last guests before it closed. They stayed in room 6. Their journal, now kept at the Leadville Museum, has a single odd entry. Floor creaks below us. But there's nothing under the floor, just air. The next page is torn, and the page after that simply says, "He knocks 3 times. We're not supposed to answer." Former owners sealed the room in 1970, tried to repurpose the floorboards, but said the wood felt soft from the inside. In 1988, a pair of amateur ghost hunters broke in. They brought a cassette recorder, left it running for 6 hours. When they played it back, most of it was static, but at 3:07 a.m., they captured a knock, 3 times, then silence, then a man's voice. "I'm not done packing." There were no suitcases in the room. No man was found. They left the recorder behind. No one ever found it. Room 6 today is sealed shut. No doorknob, no signage. But hikers still stop at the hotel porch. Some say they see a light flicker in the upstairs window, always the same one. Others hear a voice from the second floor, soft, low and tired. Just one more night. And if you knock 3 times, sometimes you'll hear someone knock back. Not fast, not threatening, just waiting. Some ghosts want attention. Some just want to go. But in Colorado's highest peaks, beneath a radio tower no one dares repair, something keeps broadcasting, even though it was turned off 6 years ago. The tower that never shut off. Signal from the ice. Some transmissions go out, others never stop. In the northern edge of the Colorado Rockies, just west of Rabbit Ears Pass, there's a decommissioned emergency broadcast tower, built in 1984, shut down officially in 2017, dismantled in parts, but the signal never stopped. For years, it was just a redundancy tower, used in avalanche zones, cold weather advisories and emergency fire alerts. It sat on a snowy ridge, elevation 10,300 feet, surrounded by nothing but ice, brush and silence. Once decommissioned, the station's panel was stripped, power lines cut, battery units pulled, but in November 2020, a team of snow surveyors picking up radio interference on their emergency band traced the source to that ridge. The tower was still transmitting. No voice, no code, just a sound, a pulse, 3 beats, pause, 3 more, then static, exactly every 61 seconds. They recorded it, sent it to engineers in Fort Collins. The file was clean, no artifacts, no overlap from any known frequencies, not military, not rescue, not geological. But when run through audio modeling software, something emerged in the space between the pulses. Faint tones, distorted like reversed Morse. One technician mapped the tones and ran them as coordinates. They pointed back to the tower. In January 2021, a storm watcher and amateur radio enthusiast named Elliot Monroe snowshoed to the site. He brought a drone, a handheld receiver, and a friend to document it. What they found was worse than static. The tower's dish, still intact, was covered in ice but warm to the touch, and at the base, a hatch had been pried open. Inside, a maintenance closet. Dust, no power lines, no gear, but the signal got stronger, and the air, it hummed. Elliot recorded 5 minutes, uploaded the raw WAV file online. Within 48 hours, his post was deleted, his account locked, and the download mirror flagged for malware. Those who downloaded it anyway reported the same thing. Headphones buzzed, system clocks reset, and in the audio's left channel a voice whispered, "We're not in the ice." In March 2021, the ridge was marked off as unsafe, avalanche risk, but there were no slides, no snow instability reports, just a sudden classification. Closed for monitoring. To this day, hikers who pass near that peak report flickers on their radio watches, emergency alerts that disappear before they load. And one group of backcountry skiers said their avalanche beacon picked up a false ping from inside solid ice. They turned back, but not before one of them captured a short burst of audio on a bodycam mic. The clip's final second, a soft rhythmic knock, like metal under pressure, followed by a breath, and something that almost formed words. Still, sending. The tower was never reactivated. The signal isn't on any public record, but the ridge, still covered in snow, still humming. And when the pulse comes, once every 61 seconds, some say it's not broadcasting out anymore. It's calling something home. Some mysteries echo, some flicker, but this one still pulses. And if you ever hike past that ice-crusted peak and your gear starts acting strange, don't try to triangulate the signal. Don't check your compass, because if it points straight to the tower, it might already know you're listening. Some signals fade, but some are just getting stronger. And if you made it this far through Colorado's most disturbing and real hidden stories, you've heard what most people never will. But the playlist's still open, and if this one found you, another state might be calling next.